Okay. Hello, Deacon Ben. It is good to have you today on the LDA podcast, and I appreciate you taking time this evening. It's 8:46 in the evening, and you have three little boys, and they decided not to go to bed tonight when you expected them to. So I do understand that pressure and what a gift it is that you are still able to hop on with us, especially with the help of your partner and wife. With the boys as we have a conversation. So they may, as you said, we may hear some little voices in the background, and that's what that is, because Ben has some little ones in the house who are trying to go down tonight, get some rest. So, Ben also and I were in formation together at least a little bit of our formation we crossed over.
Hmm.
You were, yeah,
Absolutely.
you were one of the first deacons to join the program at the LDA, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
So that was back in 2014. I do believe.
it
Yeah,
was. Yeah,
2014.
9 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
Much has happened.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot has happened. So, you are in West Lafayette, Indiana,
Hmm.
and you are a nurse, an RN. Tell us what is your title?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Yeah. So, I am now a family nurse
Mm-hmm.
practitioner. So I had graduated in 2013 from Valparaiso
Mm-hmm.
University, from a wonderful bachelor's program,
Mm-hmm.
and worked in Northwest Indiana for most of my time then there. Uh, Over the last 3 years now, I have been a nurse practitioner and working down in West Lafayette. I'm an employee of Perdue, and we staff four clinics called the North Central Nursing Clinics.
Mm-hmm.
And these are different clinics that are all run and operated by nurse practitioners.
Hmm. Okay. So the reason I invited you today was we are talking about the five images of diaconia. And these five images are five images that our executive director emeritus, Eloise Williams, kind of perfected. And they have not. Um, gone out of style. I mean, she just nailed it.
Mhm.
And so they have amazing shelf life, and they really do describe a lot of what we do. Um, you look at your work as a nurse practitioner, you have often in the past and presently described it as one who is a foot washer. And in our definition earlier, we heard a little bit about foot washer. Tell us how your work as a nurse practitioner reflects what it means to be a foot washer.
Absolutely. Yeah, so a little bit about the image of foot washing. And so, in our Christian context, the image of Christ washing the disciples' feet is where this is all based out of.
Hmm.
So, like you said, Eloise Williams, yeah, she created this document. I was reviewing it actually for our talk
Yeah.
today. And there's a copy of it if anyone's looking for it at the scholar.valpo.edu.
Ah.
And she talks about servant leadership and really servanthood. And in that, the image of foot washing she depicts as the way that Christ enters into our lives and serves us in this humble and beautiful way.
Mm.
So in that moment, right? So when Christ comes down and he's touching the feet and becoming very intimate with his disciples in those moments, taking the dirt, the grime away, and kind of establishing everything prior to this beautiful meal, is sort of setting up in my image of kind of the church life,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
We enter into their baptism, and we're entered and we walk past that baptismal font, and there's this image of water right there.
Mhm.
So as a deacon, I navigate that balance between the world and the church,
Mhm.
living into the calling of word and service.
Mhm.
And so it's part of my ministry to integrate the word of Christ and how that navigates in all of our lives and bring it into the world in as many different contexts that God kind of
Mhm.
calls. So for me as a nurse, I see foot washing in a very literal way,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So I worked as a nurse in the hospital, and so many a time, we do bed baths, take care of patients who, would be stuck in their bed, healing and recovering,
Mhm.
and they're very vulnerable in those moments, right?
Right.
They need that service and that help, and they need to be clean,
Mm.
whether it's washing the dirt from walking barefoot into the hospital,
Mm.
whether it's cleaning wounds that have been festering, whether it's holding hands and slowly cleaning their hands or hair that have
Mm.
been longing for water and soap and a good scrub for so long.
Mm.
So yeah, so that image of foot washing as a nurse kind of unfolds before us.
Mm.
And as with many things, right? As Christ really takes the daily in the Gospels and makes it so profound,
Mm.
taking things that are normal
Mm.
every day,
Mhm.
water, cleaning,
Mhm.
connection, touch, and making it beautiful.
Mhm.
And so, as I use sort of my diaconal lens and look at my nursing career over these years, I see these moments, these precious moments where two or more are gathered and kind of open up where is Christ? And uh, I do have a story. So I did a reflection a couple years back
Mhm.
when COVID, we were going through a lot of different aspects, right?
Right.
Of how does this new reality work?
Mm.
Um, and so I envision myself in this metaphor as the blanket
Mm.
or the towel. And, in COVID in the hospital, it's a very unique world, right? So you have everyone hiding, scared, confused, not knowing what is this unseen force that's dominating conversation in our
Mm.
lives. And here as nurses, you have to walk in, you have to open the door,
Yeah.
and you have to be there
Mm.
with the humanity that's so scared, so unsure, so confused.
Mhm.
We have many patients who are feeling well, and here they are in an isolation room and longing to just see their family.
Yeah.
Um, and so to envision ourselves as how do we interact with that patient, the value of a blanket
Mm.
that wraps to the needs and holds on to people where they need that warmth
Mm.
and comfort. And as nurses, how can we be instruments of that as well, bringing Christ into that
Mm.
room that feels abandoned and lost? And one thing during formation, we talked a lot about this idea of the towel and basin in foot
Right.
washing. And so that if you envision a towel, right, it's not stiff.
Mhm.
Most towels
No.
are not too stiff, but they're not fully fluid. They have form and they have shape and they have
Mm.
purpose. And as we all, I think, can resonate with, when we find our purpose,
Mhm.
we feel that things make sense.
Mhm.
And so a towel is meant to form to the needs of the person, to cleanse, to heal, to wipe up dirt, to clean faces, whatever it may be, right?
Mhm.
But in each of those acts, this towel shapes and forms to the contours of our life.
Mm.
Um, and as I see myself as a nurse and I reflect on what Christ did, taking this towel to wrap around each of the disciples' feet,
Yeah.
the different shapes, the different toes, the
Mm.
different lengths, how do we engage each person
Mhm.
whether it be in a hospital room during COVID, whether it's in a clinic, sitting face to face, whether it's in the grocery store. How are we called to be that towel, to live into the purpose God has called us and formed the unique context that we're placed?
Mm. I love that, and I'm thinking of, as, the deacon, or the nurse taking that shape that is needed at that time, taking on the shape. Um, I also feel like at some point, Christ was very, counter-cultural, right? In many, many ways.
Mm-hmm.
But also, can that help us to think about how perhaps Christ takes on the shape of us?
Mm.
When we are in need, how Christ comes to us differently, each of us differently, like that towel gets reshaped by the shape and length, um, of each person's, and what gets left over, right? What gets left over on that
Mm-hmm.
towel? Ah,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful image and thought to ponder, right?
mhm.
That not only does this towel reach and grab and cover, it doesn't cover
Right.
everything. We can't cure and heal and fix everything. And at the same time, when that towel is removed, you see the
Mm.
remnants, that connection, that experience now rubbed off on that towel.
Mhm.
And so, a step further as we ponder together,
Yeah.
Adrian, how do we as healthcare providers, as deacons, as clergy,
Mhm.
as called ministers, how do we accept this
Mm.
challenge to form to these needs, not knowing how dirty we're going to become,
Ah,
how ripped and painful, but longing for the washing that Christ
mm.
gives to make us clean,
Yes.
to go out again and fold to someone else's
Ah,
needs.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I you know, I do. I think that also, I had an opportunity to speak with, Cheryl Plummer, Deaconess Cheryl Plummer,
Mm.
and,
Yes.
I'll just share a little bit with you about our conversation because also she's a nurse and, worked a lot with hospice care and with patients in hospice
Mm.
care. And, one thing that she also, I wonder, this is something else for us to ponder, that she mentioned was now she's in need of having her feet washed,
Mm.
due
Yes.
to, a chronic, really degenerative illness now. And, so yeah, we talked a little bit about that too when, a lot about how Jesus, the disciples initially didn't want Jesus, to wash their feet. They, yes, you are, Lord. And the image of Cheryl now needing her feet washed is an example of Jesus saying, no, this is what we do for each other. So I just wanted to share that with you, hopefully.
So beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
I think the act of mutuality
exactly.
is easily said, but hard to live
Hmm.
out. And yeah, and going back to the scripture, right? That not just my feet, but my hands and my whole body too.
Hmm.
The not everyone is at that point,
Yeah.
and we all shift and change, and to be a life of service, to be accepting of service
Mm.
is hard.
Mhm.
It is hard.
Yeah.
And it's a part, I think, of the life of the church. And so,
Mhm.
I am very honored to have known and worked, had conversations, with our fellow
Mhm.
deaconesses
Mhm.
and how they have lived their ministry,
Mhm.
and then be blessed to hear their stories throughout their time,
Yeah.
right? As they are young and new into the ministries that they're imbibing in and surrounded in. And then how does their life live out in retirement
Yes.
as one who doesn't end being a nurse or end being a deaconess,
Mhm.
but that context changes. And so that
Mhm.
that shape of their towel
Mm.
maybe doesn't fit the same purposes that they used to.
Mhm.
And so I think the beautiful thing about our community is that we can sit with each other
Mm.
and learn how we grow together,
Mhm.
and and sit in the difficult.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And community really is, I think, what is unique about the LDA.
mhm,
And we've been around for 100 years. And speaking of reshaping, the community has reshaped. Yeah. And it continues. It
mhm.
struggles. It's not always easy.
Of course,
Yeah.
yes,
But in itself, the community acts sort of as that towel as well. Yeah.
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, if do you want to add anything else? I think you wrapped it up beautifully. um,
Well, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, this has been a wonderful experience. Thank you for this
you
opportunity.
are absolutely welcome. And again, thank you for taking time in your nighttime routine with your family and just back to work after having been on paternity leave. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
For taking time to speak with me and with our followers and listeners. And hopefully, this conversation can encourage someone who is considering the diaconate and inspire them to, if they need community, that we are a place that is a welcoming place. So, thank you for
Absolutely,
sharing and being a
of
part of
course.
that.
Yeah, so blessings on your conversations to
Thank
come,
you.
and for all those who are listening who are discerning, we are praying for you.
Mhm.
As we meet in the deacon community, and the deaconesses as well, we pray for those discerning and who are yet to come into community with us. For the discerning process can be
Mhm.
difficult, but the nice thing about the community, the diaconate we live in, is God calls you, we live with you, and we help guide you in formation. And so, nurse, lawyer, stay at home mother,
Mhm.
what you name it,
Mhm.
God is calling you, and it's a beautiful community to live into, to find your call.